So welcome everybody once again. Let's learn to get our hormones in balance. My name is Carolyn Nickel. I am the certified holistic nutritionist, one of the co-owners of the Energy Shack Juice Bar. And I'm really excited today to talk with you and share with you about the endocrine system. And I have some guests with us today. We have Sandra DeRoche and Grace McIntosh, if you can just wave there on the camera. We are so happy to have them with us. They're going to talk to us in depth about the endocrine system and things that you did not know you might be putting into your system and also on your system that are hormone disruptors. This is very important. It is not talked about enough, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm just going to take a couple minutes to just share some basics about hormones, just some basic, simple understanding about the endocrine system. And with that being said, is that, again, not a lot of people realize that our hormones, which are our communication messengers, are very, very important. As you know, as human beings in the work world, in our family life, in relationships, if we don't have good communication, everything's a mess. That's the reality. You and your hubby aren't talking, you and your wife aren't talking, you're not communicating enough with your kids, messes happen. If, you know, and we know in businesses, if they don't have good communication, and with all of our fancy communication these days, we're still not getting it right. But if the body doesn't get it right, we're in big trouble. So communication is key, and our hormones are those chemical communication messengers. And you can see some of the main glands. These aren't all of them, but these are the main glands that are involved in this communication. So definition here, you've got these hormones that give signals throughout the entire body. They are using their small molecules in a multicellular organism, and communication between hormones and also from hormones to organs. It's incredible, the language of the human body, and it is necessary for correct development, for correct function of the human body. Animals have hormones, plants have, fungi have hormones, human beings. Of course, we are part of the animal kingdom, and plants have communication messengers as well. So you can see anatomy and physiology here. Some of the main, you can't see it, I think the picture is cut off, but the testes of a man also has these hormones in it, which is very, very important. And the incredible thing is that just a little bit of a hormone imbalance creates a huge hormone imbalance for the entire system. It's a domino effect. And so some of the functions of our hormones is that it regulates your metabolism and your digestion. Homeostasis is just the balance of the human body. So it's the law that governs the human body. So the hormones help with the balance of blood pressure, blood sugar, your water and electrolyte balance, your body temperature, your growth and development, all of your sexual functions, your reproductive system, your sleep-wake cycle, your mood. So, I mean, if this doesn't speak volumes about what could, should, may or may not happen in your system, it is extremely important to have your hormones in check. And for those that are joining us, just a reminder that this is being recorded. So if you need your cameras off, that would be up to you. And understanding that your endocrine system ultimately are just chemical messengers that affect and manage hundreds of the body's functions. It's been discovered that we have over 50 type of hormones, and a little bit goes a long way. One small change creates a domino effect of a host of other issues in the human body. So it's very important to have our hormones in balance. And with that being said, is that diseases relating to hormone imbalances, and we are not limited to this list, but diabetes, heart disease, thyroid disease, and that could be hypothyroidism, that could be hyperthyroidism, that could be Hashimoto's, that could be just goiter, having nodules growing on your goiter, irregular periods, menopausal symptoms, male infertility, PCOS, fibroid cysts, obesity, and cancer are just some diseases relating to hormones. And I'm going through this very quickly because I really want to give the floor over to Sandra and Grace. But what I do want to show you help you understand is that hormones are extremely important for having a normal blood cholesterol balance. That's extremely important. It's also important for getting sleep. If you have a slower rapid heartbeat, that can be controlled by your hormones as well. Maybe you have, these are some symptoms, unexplained weight gain or weight loss, fatigue, brain fog, low sex drive, bowel issues, acne is a sign of hormone imbalance, higher than normal blood cholesterol levels, mood disorders, sleep disorders, being unable to tolerate hot or cold temperatures, changes in hair, your skin, or your nails. Any kind of growth that's abnormal. So whether that's skin tags, whether that's cysts, whether that's fibroids, or whether it's cancer in any form. These are all symptoms of having a hormone imbalance. And understand that even menopausal symptoms, menopause is not a hormone imbalance. Menopausal symptoms like hot flashes, like weight gain, like irritability, this is not normal. So menopause should literally just be a missed period. We should not be having all these hot flashes and all these other strange symptoms. Those are all symptoms of having a hormone imbalance because hormones change when it comes to menopause. And so since we have a change during menopause, if your hormones were out of balance, then you will find that your menopausal years are not going to be very exciting. So let's just quickly talk about some hormone disruptors. Sorry, friends. Caffeine, whether it's black tea, green tea, white tea, coffee, dark chocolate, the darker the chocolate, the higher the caffeine, friends. Caffeine's a hormone disruptor. So I know some people don't want to see that, but it's the reality is that caffeine is a hormone disruptor. And it hijacks your adenosine receptors. So I don't want to go into that in depth. We are going to be having part 2 of this in just a couple weeks. But for sure, if you are drinking caffeine, you are having a hormone imbalance, even friends, even if it's just 1 or 2 ounces a day. That's the reality. And some people drink it every day and have for years. Another hormone disruptor is alcohol. And you know, whether you're having a glass of wine or whiskey, or there's the same amount of alcohol in 2 ounces of wine, 2 ounces of beer, 2 ounces of whiskey, that's also the reality. So alcohol is a hormone disruptor. This affects your liver in a very negative way, and it disrupts your hormones. So even if you're having just 1 glass of wine once a week, you're disrupting your hormones easily for 3 full days. So that's also a reality. Dairy products are loaded with animal hormones because it's breast milk for a baby cow. So they are naturally full of extra hormones, growth hormones, that when they go into our body, they mess with our hormones. So dairy products are on the food side also endocrine disruptors. Marijuana, tobacco, and any other kind of drugs as well. We mentioned alcohol. These are all hormone disruptors. So yes, even 1 stick of weed, friends, might calm you down, but it's creating a hormone imbalance long term. So that's the reality. And stress. Stress is the biggest. It is the biggest. Because you get too much adrenaline and cortisol release, which fatigues those organs, and the pathway, constant release of cortisol or adrenaline creates a major disruption of hormones. So I'm not going to go through these in any detail. I just want you to know, as a nutritionist, I feel it's my duty to let you know the food and lifestyle side of it. So it's very important that we know that these are all hormone disruptors. But the beauty is just getting a good night's sleep can heal you in so many ways. Getting to bed and living, your body's on a circadian rhythm. When you get off that circadian rhythm, you're going to have an imbalance. So if you're constantly having late nights, you're going to have a hormone imbalance. Hormones are balanced between about 9 p.m. and 1 in the morning. So if you're not asleep during those times, or if you have food in your stomach and your body can't do the hormone balance, it's problematic. So getting a good night rest is such an important part of getting your hormones in balance. Lots of water. We don't need beer, wine, coffee, alcohol. Just drink water. It actually cleanses the body. That's a big one. Start your day with 2 full glasses of water. Cleanse your system. When you wake up, your cortisol starts rising. Why do you want to create a hormone imbalance first thing in the morning? Ditch the Java and go right to the water. And having lots of fresh food, especially a big breakfast in the morning when your circadian rhythm, your metabolism begins to rise. Feed yourself. Have a really good lunch and have a very light dinner. This will allow your body to sleep well, get a good night's sleep, and allow your hormones to go into balance. So I'll wrap up with some offers that we have today. We are offering some discounted consultations, detoxes, and we have a wonderful herbalist that also has hormone balancing teas for you. So I'll tell you all about that at the end of the seminar. And at this time, I'm going to let the ladies introduce themselves and pass it over to them because they have some really great information to share with you.
Hi. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, sure can.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Carolyn. That was amazing. Lots of information and as we can see, lots of disruption to our endocrine. So hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today. My name is Sandra DeRoche. And just a way of introducing myself, during the day, I work as a full-time financial advisor, and I own my own insurance agency named Wealth Shield. I'm also here with Grace McIntosh, who is a full-time
We can't hear you all of a sudden.
Sandra, I muted you by mistake. Sorry about that. Grace McIntosh is a full-time.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
my fault. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm here with Grace McIntosh, who is a full-time solicitor and legal consultant. So together, Grace and I run a business called Selah Botanicals. We are very passionate about teaching people how to balance their hormones and improve the quality of their life. So I met Caroline about 2 years ago when I discovered Energy Shack Juice Bar and all of her healthy vegan options she provides. And since then, I've been on many of her juice cleanses and health retreats, which have helped me to regain my health in many ways.
Man.
So at Selah Botanicals, our mission is to nurture and empower all through the healing touch of natural remedies. And in this presentation, we're going to cover the following main topics: symptoms of hormonal imbalance, HRT, bioidenticals, wild jam and chaseberry, endocrine disruptors. Let's jump into our presentation and talk about the symptoms of hormonal imbalance on the next slide. Okay, just a little disclaimer here that this content provided is in this presentation is for informational purposes only. And as with all health and wellness information, always consult your professional healthcare provider before beginning any new treatment or program. Okay, so what is hormonal imbalance and why is it important to know about it? Hormonal imbalances happens when there's too much or too little of hormones in the bloodstream. Hormones control most of our body's major processes. So even a small imbalance can have big effects on our health. Understanding hormonal imbalances is crucial because it helps us recognize symptoms early and take steps to manage them effectively, improving our overall quality of life. Hormonal imbalances can happen at different stages in life for both men and women. Women usually start experiencing hormonal changes in their late 40s to early 50s as they approach menopause. However, some women may start noticing symptoms as early as their mid-30s. Men can start experiencing andropause or male menopause, usually in their late 40s to early 60s. These changes are a natural part of aging, but knowing what to expect can help manage the symptoms better. So as you can see from the middle column of this graphic, many of the symptoms are the same for both men and women. These common symptoms include mood swings, depression, headaches, night sweats, insomnia, weight gain, and bone loss. However, there are also symptoms that are specific to each gender. For women, additional symptoms can include forgetfulness, hot flashes, nausea, heart palpitations, irregular periods, vaginal dryness, and joint aches and pain. For men, unique symptoms can include decreased motivation, lack of focus, low energy, muscle loss, and mild to moderate erectile dysfunctions. Understanding these symptoms is the first step in recognizing and addressing hormonal imbalances. It's important to remember that these changes are natural and common, and there are ways to manage and alleviate the symptoms. Now, I'd like to share my personal story with you about my journey through hormonal imbalances and menopause. Like many women, I started experiencing symptoms of hormonal imbalances in my 50s. Hot flashes and night sweats. It all begins with hot flashes that seem to come out of nowhere. They were increasingly irritating because you never knew when they were going to hit. They fluctuate randomly, making you feel like you have no control. While they can happen at any time, they usually strike me at night. One moment I'd be reaching for my blanket because I felt chilled, and the next moment I'd be peeling off layers and sweating. These hot flashes often led to night sweats, making it impossible to get a good night's sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, so much so that I had to change my pajamas. After sweating, I'd feel very cold and would need to cover up again, disrupting my sleep even further. Also, not sleeping through the night. I would wake up around 2 a.m. every night and not be able to fall back asleep for the next 2 to 3 hours. The lack of sleep was taking a toll on my health, increasing my blood pressure and leaving me unable to properly function during the day. I felt constantly exhausted, suffered from brain fog, making it difficult to concentrate and get things done. Mood swings. My mood was constantly swinging from one extreme to another, and I felt more irritable than ever before. I experienced highs and lows, bouts of depression, and a significant decrease in my ability to concentrate. This mood swings were not only emotionally draining, but also impacted my relationships and daily interactions. Weight gain. I also noticed physical changes, particularly weight gain. Despite maintaining the same diet and exercise routine, my joints ached. I often felt tired and my energy levels were constantly low. Over time, I started putting on weight and it seemed to be getting worse gradually, adding to my frustration and impacting my overall well-being. Not able to lose that weight. No matter what healthy habits I tried, the results seemed blocked and short-lived. I later discovered that hormonal imbalances was the culprit, making it extremely difficult to lose weight. This realization was disheartening and added to the struggle I was already facing with my changing body and health. These symptoms were taking a toll on my quality of life, and it was difficult. It was a difficult time, and I knew I had to find a way to manage these symptoms. So for many years, I felt completely lost. I thought menopause was just something you had to suffer through in silence. Like many women, I did nothing because I didn't know there were options. Can anyone out there relate to this? If you're a woman going through menopause or approaching it, our goal with this presentation is to provide guidance and share the best solutions to help you navigate this journey. Key facts, and I know Carolyn has already shared this, but your body has many endocrine glands that release different hormones, and these glands are controlled by the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland in your brain. Various medical conditions can affect these glands and cause hormonal problems. The key to getting through this is to educate yourself on why this is happening, and most importantly, find ways to balance your hormones. Now, doctors often suggest hormone replacement, or HRTs, to help alleviate the suffering and discomfort that menopause can bring. HRT is a form of hormone replacement used to treat menopause symptoms by balancing your estrogen and your progesterone levels. There may be some of you here on this webinar who are using HRTs or know someone who is. They are available in like pill format, patches, and creams. Now, when I learned about estradiol, which is a common component of HRT, is that it is made from synthetic hormones. Now, while there can be relieve symptoms in the short term, they can cause harm in the long run. And for some women, synthetic hormones can lead to serious health issues like heart disease, stroke, and even breast cancer. There is an increased risk of cancer in about 9% of the women using these products. These hormones are not natural and contain hidden toxins, which Grace is going to be covering in a little bit about. So I decided that HRT was not an option for me, so I said no to that. The second option I discovered was what we call bioidentical hormones, BHRT for short. Bioidentical hormones are chemically identical to the ones our bodies produce naturally and are derived from plants. They are available in pill formats. And, after doing some research, I decided to give them a try. However, getting bioidentical hormones is not as straightforward as getting the traditional HRT. They are not available in the regular retail pharmacies normally. Instead, you have to order them through a compounding pharmacy, which specializes in creating customized, individualized medications. This means the compound is made according to the specific ratio your doctor or naturopathic doctor suggests based on what you need personally. So this approach can be more expensive and is not covered by OHIP, but if you have a group benefit plan, it might help cover some of the cost. Later, I discovered that how they make the BHRT is they extract diosgenin, and diosgenin is like a beneficial ingredient found in wild GM. and they convert it into a steroid to produce progesterone and estrogen. This process is known as compounding, and it is not 100% natural. So according to the FDA, the BHRT is not necessarily safer than the HRT, although they are designed to mimic human hormones. They are still synthetic and man-made, not purely botanical. So this means they don't allow your ovaries to make their own estrogen and progesterone. Instead, they take over what your body would naturally do, making you dependent on them. After learning this information, I felt the need to explore even more natural solutions to address my hormonal imbalances. So then I discovered wild yam cream. I was introduced to wild yam cream through a presentation done by Barbara O'Neill on how to balance your hormones naturally. Excited by this information, I searched online and ordered 2 jars of wild yam cream. Unfortunately, it took almost a month to be delivered. But when it finally arrived, I immediately stopped using those bioidenticals. I had positive results only after about 2 weeks of constantly using the wild yam cream. The 2 jars lasted me about 2 months. And when I tried to reorder, I found it was on back order and out of stock. They promised to email me when another batch was available, but by the time I received the email and checked it, it was already sold out again. So after a while of not using the wild yam cream, my symptoms returned. I couldn't sleep and the night sweats came back. Later, when I was talking to my dear friend Grace, I was surprised to hear that she was also having trouble ordering it as well. We realized together that many other women were going through the same challenges. This experience sparked our journey to help educate others and create natural solutions that help relieve the suffering of men and women dealing with hormonal imbalances. As a result, we started making our own. Since then, all my symptoms have disappeared. I feel confident using natural products that I won't need to rely, that I won't need to have to rely on for life, because once your bodies are regulated properly and producing their own estrogen and progesterone, you can gradually reduce the usage. So I just want to share a little bit about wild yam cream. It has chasteberry in it and its effect. First, let's talk about the natural ingredients. Wild yam cream with chasteberry uses natural ingredients to help stimulate your ovaries to produce their own estrogen and progesterone. This natural stimulation can help treat menopausal symptoms, and the best part is it's completely chemical-free. Another important factor is that wild yam cream does not contain any endocrine disruption. Many health products, even those marketed as beneficial, contain ingredients that can disrupt our endocrine system, worsening hormone imbalances no matter what stage of life we're in. We'll dive deeper into that topic. Grace will in a few minutes. Now, wild yam and chasteberry works together like a dynamic duo. Together, they help to balance the estrogen and progesterone production, reduce fibroids, alleviate PMS symptoms, ease, perimenopausal symptoms during times of increased estrogen, regulate irregular menstrual cycles, reduce the frequency of hot flashes and night sweats, improve moods, overall reduces menopause symptoms. And when you use these botanicals, it allows your own body to produce its own progesterone and estrogen. The pituitary gland, which sits near to the thyroid gland, gets tuned up, and your entire endocrine system functions better. So, if you are suffering from S deficiency, really, like, who should not be using wild yam are those that suffer from like an S deficiency. Wild yam may increase the risk of thrombosis, so do not use it if you suffer from this. And as you can see, do not use if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, and so on. So what is causing this? You know, women who lived 100 years ago didn't have hormonal challenges as we do today. What has affected our hormonal system, our endocrine system? What has changed? Why is there so much disruption with our hormones now? Why is this happening? So with that, I'm just going to pass it over to Grace, and she's going to take over and explain these reasons. Thank you.
Grace, you're muted.
Thank you, Sandra. I never cease to be fascinated by your story, and it's so interesting. And everybody has a story. I'd love to hear everybody's story tonight. I just want to say thank you to Carolyn for the service that she provides. So many people I know that have been healed through her wisdom and guidance, and we give glory to God for that. And I just want to say thank you to everyone tonight for your presence here. I did see a question in the chat.
I'll do all the questions at the end, Grace. So you just go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So there are hidden toxins. I'll focus on xenoestrogens. I'd like to talk a little bit about cosmetic ingredients, synthetic hormones, botanicals. How do botanicals work? And that is actually bioidentical hormones. That's a little mistake there. Hidden toxins. Toxins are in everything. We live in the age of chemicals and plastics, and we're paying the price. There is an accumulation. We've reached what is referred to as critical mass. So both Sandra and Carolyn pointed out where we can encounter endocrine disruptors. It disrupts the endocrine system and impacts our health. And Carolyn, that was riveting, what you had to say about diet, coffee, and making sure we drink enough, our sleep, and just everything you had to say. I could just listen to you both. And toxins are also hidden in everything we use. They're hidden in cosmetics. They're hidden in the laundry soap we use, in this hand soap that we use, and sanitizer. It's everywhere. And all of a sudden there's what's referred to as critical mass. And we find ourselves in trouble. Why can't we lose the weight? Why are so many people suffering from PCOS? Why is this happening, as Sandra said? And the healthy lifestyle is foundational. But in this day and age, it almost seems like it's not enough. We really have to be careful to remove from our lives known products and foods that are causing endocrine disruption, and do our best. And oftentimes it requires using botanicals, the teas that Carolyn's going to talk about, and the creams, making sure that we're as chemical free as possible. I just wanted to talk to you all about my subject using published medical studies. So this study was published in the Review of Endocrine Metabolism Disorders, and was published in 2020. The title was Endocrine Disrupting Chemicals, Exposure, Effects on Human Health, Mechanism of Action, Models for Testing, and Strategies for Prevention. And basically, this study is outlining that we are inundated with endocrine disrupting chemicals. At the turn of the 20th century, there was a lot of excitement. In the 1900s, as we entered into this new age, there was a lot of excitement in the pharmaceutical industry and just in the world in general. And we were moving to look, plastics and all of these things that we could do. And now we find that so many of the things that have made our life easy are actually destroying our health over time. And because it's over time, we're just not as aware. This abstract from this article says that endocrine disrupting chemicals are a global problem for environmental and human health. They're defined as an exogenous chemical or mixture of chemicals, etc. And then they call them EDCs. Most EDCs are lipophilic. That means they love fat. So they go into our fat, like under our skin, and they bioaccumulate. In other words, the body doesn't get rid of them. They bioaccumulate in adipose tissue. That's fat. Thus, they have a very long half-life in the body, and it's difficult to assess the full impact because it happens over time, these difficulties. An example of an endocrine disruptor that's in the environment are xenoestrogens, and maybe you've heard of them. They are in most of our plastics, and they mimic our own hormones, in particular estrogen. So the abstract for this article is going to give us a little bit of an idea. This article was published in 2003. So they've known about these things for a long time. And it starts off environmental xenoestrogens can be divided into natural compounds from plant and fungi, synthetically derived agents, and they are often found in plastics. So here we go. I don't know if you can see my, whoops. There we go. Chemicals like xenoestrogens are collectively called endocrine disruptors. Adverse effects by endocrine disrupting chemicals include a number of developmental anomalies in wildlife and humans, critical periods of urogenital tract and nervous system development in utero. So you have a lot of birth defects from exposure to xenoestrogens. Furthermore, damage during this vulnerable time is generally permanent, whereas adulthood ill effects may sometimes be alleviated if the causative agent is removed. If you do cleansing, I know that Carolyn does a lot of juicing and cleansing programs. I had a friend who was very positively impacted by that. It's just an example of one of the things we can do. But if some damage happens in utero, really it's permanent. However, endocrine disruptors can often affect more than one hormone or different components of the same endocrine pathway, making it difficult to predict effects. The true risk is a controversial issue. So this was in 2003. So now we come to 2011. What's happening? And the title of this study is Most Plastic Products Release Estrogen Chemicals, a Potential Health Problem That Can Be Solved. I don't know what we do in life that doesn't involve plastic, honestly.
No.
Chemicals, this is the abstract. So chemicals have estrogen activity, reportedly causing many adverse health effects, especially in low doses in fetal and juvenile mammals, include that we're mammals. So in this study, it talks about their objectives and so on. If you look at paragraph 6, the conclusions, many plastic products are mischaracterized as being estrogenic activity free if extracted with only one solvent and not exposed to common use stresses. However, we can identify existing compounds or have developed monomers, additives, or processing to make the EA more detectable. Hence, our data suggests that EA-free plastic products exposed to common use stresses and extracted by saline and ethanol solvents could be cost effectively made on a commercial scale and thereby eliminate potential health risk. However, if you look at, so they're offering a solution. If you look at paragraph 5, look what happened in this study. So you know how everybody is very excited because they have BPA-free plastic. And you think, okay, it's safe. I can use this BPA-free plastic. That is not what this study found. It says almost all commercially available plastic products we sampled, independent of the type of resin product or retail source, leached chemicals having reliably detectable EA, including those advertised as BPA-free. In some cases, BPA-free products released chemicals having more estrogenic activity than did BPA-containing products. Just think of all the plastic baby bottles and that were, the juice bottles and all of these things. And we are just taking, a swim. We're just swimming in chemicals, and our air and our water is also corrupted. So leaving that, so I just want to touch on things. I'm trying to be very aware of time. Cosmetic ingredients, almost everything that we buy in the cosmetic section of a Shoppers Drug Mart or even a health food store are full of endocrine disruptors and toxins. This is a link to a website, and on that website, it's talking about ethoxylated ingredients. They're ingredients that are synthetically produced using ethylene oxide, a known carcinogen. These new chemical compounds are known as ethoxylated compounds, and there's also dioxane, which is in them, and there is a list on the next slide. You know, if you want to take a picture of that, those are some things that you should be looking for. But what I discovered as Sandra and I were developing formulas for Selah Botanicals was that these so-called safe, you know, air quotes, these so-called safe emulsifiers, preservatives, and additives, like for all people, women and men, we are like, oh, we'd like the greaseless one. We'd like that greaseless formula. Well, in order to get a greaseless formula, you have to have an emulsifier. If you go to the body shop, you look at any of those body butters, just turn the ingredients around. You see the first ingredient is water. It says aqua. The reason is because you can take anything. You can make anything, water, coffee, milk, it doesn't matter what it is, and turn it into a cream if you're using an emulsifier. But almost all the emulsifiers are used with the processing of ethylene oxide. And ethylene oxide, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to this. Ethylene oxide is something that we're going to talk about a little later on in the slides, but it causes cancer. The people who make it in the factory get cancers. The people who live around the factory get cancers. And there are many class actions with respect to ethylene oxide. Even if the ethylene oxide isn't in the product, the end product, there's an ethical component to this. So I remember speaking to a friend once about what they used, and they said, I used Nivea, my mother used Nivea, my grandmother used Nivea, and it's just an example of a product that is trusted. It's really simple, and there's like just a few ingredients, but I just want you to notice, okay, first of all, first ingredient is water. Why? Because it's probably a fairly greaseless formula. And then after that, it's mineral oil, petroleum, glycerin, microcrystalline wax. So it's high petroleum-based product. Petroleum itself has an issue with respect to carcinogenic action. The emulsifier in this is the 4th ingredient, this microcrystalline wax. It's a type of wax. It is a petroleum product, and it has it. If you go and look in even just Wikipedia, that key industries that utilize petroleum, such as the personal care, cosmetic, and candle industries, have pushed for more materials that are considered green as an alternative. So, and you'll see as we go on, there are published medical studies showing that petroleum-based products, especially on the skin, can cause cancer, and they are suspect of being endocrine disruptors. Their preservative is this very long word here, methylchlorothiazolanine, can cause allergic reactions in some people. First publication of the preservative as a contact allergen was 1988. It can cause photoaggravated, that means if you go into the sun, it can cause dermatitis, worsening skin lesions after sun exposure, etc. And here's the study, it's from 1988. They knew this, the carcinogenic potential of selected petroleum-derived products. So that is just an example of a really simple product that probably everybody's used at one time in their life. And we don't notice it because it's effective. Petroleum actually does soften your skin. It creates a barrier. It keeps some moisture in. But over time, we're exposing ourselves to potential carcinogen, potential endocrine disruptors. This is a study from 2019. It was ethylene oxide and risk of lymphohepatic cancer and breast cancer. This is the ethylene oxide is involved in so many of the products, so many of the ingredients in our cosmetic products that we're using. And then if the ethylene oxide is not actually in the product, it becomes this 1,4 dioxane. That is also an suspect as an endocrine disruptor and carcinogen. Again, this is a slide with respect to ethylene oxide, and you can see here's a link. Union Carbide Corporation faces potential class action litigation over its alleged dangerous and reckless emission of cancerous ethylene oxide into the air. So these things are hidden, and we may not always be aware of them, and they're just trying to draw attention and create awareness. I hope I don't get any contact from the makers of Nivea. Synthetic hormones. So this is a study that was released in February 2000, and it is estradiol, a genotoxic mutagenic carcinogen. Basically, it's estradiol. There are 3 estrogens. Estradiol is what your ovaries make after menopause. Estrone is what your ovaries make during menarche or your reproductive years. And estriol is an estrogen that you make only if you're pregnant. You must have a little baby in there to make it. So in this study, at the very last, you can see this sentence. These data suggest that an E2 is what they've called estradiol, is a weak carcinogen and a weak mutagen capable of inducing genetic lesions with low frequency. Tumors may develop by hormone receptor mediated proliferation of such damaged cells. Like this is, this was published in a medical journal called Endocrine Reviews in February 2000, and it's talking about estradiol as being a weak carcinogen. So it's the question is asked. So like if it's dangerous, why do they give it to women? And they say, well, it does help with the menopausal symptoms. It helps with discomfort. It helps people sleep. It helps get rid of the hot flashes. It helps with dryness and so on. But there's a risk. And when the industry was using Premarin, which was made with horse urine, there was a very high incidence of cancer, and women did not want to use HRT. And this, sort of the bioidentical hormones entered the scene. And there's this controversy all the time over how the discomfort that women suffer through the different stages with hormonal imbalance is addressed. So bioidentical hormones, we've talked a lot about that. They're plant-based. And this is these are the latest guidelines from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, published on November 1st, 2022 in the Journal of American Medicine, that's JAMA. And they recommend against the use of estrogen alone or combined estrogen and progesterone formulations, patches as well as pills, to prevent chronic conditions such as osteoporosis or cardiovascular disease, which are often a result of hormonal imbalance, right? The updated guidelines don't specifically address hormone therapy for they wouldn't touch it. They didn't even say anything about it. They're just recommended against using it because of what they already had known, like in 2000, and that just has not been overturned. So here, this is way back in 1998. Phytoestrogens, which an example of that would be flax, are chemical structures similar to estrogen, and they found to bind to estrogen receptors. So I just want to give this an example for you. So that's a bioidentical, talked about the synthetic, and then now we're just talking about food-based things, which Carolyn is way more expert on that. But I just want to highlight, if you take flax, it sort of acts in a way to balance estrogens. Like if you have too much estrogen, endometriosis. When estrogen is a substance that proliferates cells. So if you have an imbalance, you have too much estrogen, that's how you end up with endometriosis. Just your cell, the lining of your uterus just goes crazy because there's too much estrogen, and its job is to make cells. Its job is to make a nice lining for a baby. But when you have too much of it, causes things like endometriosis, PCOS, or breast cancers. But you can look at food as a healing. So the flax It says down here in this last paragraph, the rapidly growing body of literature in this area indicates that these plant-derived estrogens, for example, flax is one, is a phytoestrogen, soy is another, may exert both estrogenic and anti-estrogenic effects on metabolism, depending on several factors. And it usually goes in and does like what's needed. So the next title is How Do Botanicals Work? And why would you use botanicals? So botanicals are plants basically that we're using topically or by mouth to treat something that we're suffering from. You know, peppermint sort of wakes you up, chamomile makes you sleepy, for those of you who've done tea. But basically, botanicals are water soluble like tea and infused in water. They can be fat soluble, and you can infuse or extract them into olive oil, for example. And they usually have small enough molecules to enter the skin. And you take a botanical that's either water infused or oil extraction, and you put it on your skin, what's called a transdermal application, it's topical. You often provide delivery of 40 to 400 times more of the active ingredients than by mouth. By mouth, these type of ingredients tend to be lost in the alimentary system. There's a study from 2013, and one of the, and it's just here, and a review on phytosomes and the characterization of advanced potential for transdermal application. Okay, it's at researchgate.net. And in there, it said plants are endowed with health-promoting substances, but it says here in the middle, you can see toxicity absorption problems limit the use of the constituents by mouth, right? Apart from that, the herbal extracts are destroyed by the digestive secretions and gut bacteria. That's just one of the reasons why a topical application is more desirable than by mouth. So one of the examples that we can give is wild yam. Okay, so wild yam, it's in the roots that all of the good stuff is, and the compound that we've mentioned is diosgenin. And from diosgenin in the labs, they make a corticosteroid, and then they turn that into progesterone. And from progesterone, you can make either estrogen or testosterone. So there are acres and acres of wild yam growing for these companies that are involved in bioidentical hormones. So when you're taking the wild yam that has been extracted through olive oil, and you can extract or you can make a tincture using alcohol. The thing about tinctures that have been made using alcohol is that the alcohol interferes with the absorption or the uptake. So you may hear something like, oh, especially roots or bark, you can't get the compounds out without alcohol, or you get more with alcohol than with olive oil or some other kind of oil. But the problem is that once you put them on topically or ingest them, you run into issues with respect to absorption. So it's 6 1/2 dozen the other, and lots of people can't have be more information we needed to know. But the way the wild yam works is it goes, you put it on topically, it stimulates the pituitary gland, which stimulates the ovaries, and your body, it mimics estrogen in the body. And that is the effect of taking either by mouth or topically, but topically at 40 to 400. I've heard 40 from one physician and 400 times more from Barbara O'Neill, uptake of the diosgenin and the active compounds than by mouth. And then each person is a little different. So the ratio that you might need with respect to the chasteberry, which does cause the production of progesterone in your body. And it's usually, though, most of us are much shorter on progesterone than we are on the estrogen, but everybody's different. So I'm just trying to pay attention to time, and it is now 8:27. Thank you for your patience and for everybody being part of this presentation.
That was incredible, Grace. All of your lawyer skills have come out in all of your research, for sure. There's not a lot of questions, but in the audience, but I'm going to ask a few questions, and maybe you can helps. So to answer, and you guys can throw some questions in the chat. So Grace, in your experience, would you say that plastic, period, as long as you can avoid it, should not be used at all, whether it's containers, if you have a choice on something, should you completely avoid plastic? What's your thoughts and opinion on that?
Based on the study that we cited, it looks like you can't get away from endocrine disruptors or carcinogens or dangerous chemicals in any plastic. They said every plastic we tested.
And was this tested with heat, without heat, or just to have any food or your body part touching it?
Yes, they did. So what they tried to do, yes to everything you said. So what they tried to do was mimic everyday life use of these plastics. You're putting juice in for a sippy cup for a baby, or you're putting a sandwich in for, your lunch. And so they tried to mimic all of that, and they became very creative in how they would try to extract like what gets released from the plastics during everyday use. And they just said, it's everything. Don't trust this BPA free. It's not what you think. Sometimes a BPA free is worse. So if you can use glass, paper, be careful about the paper. It's often lined with like a wax that could have chemicals in it, but
or bleach.
Yes. So just be very cognizant about the materials that you're using. You're not jumping from the frying pan into the fire.
Okay. Glass, friends.
Right.
Energy Shack juices, glass.
Okay. Thank you for that. I love your Energy Shack juices. I love your food. I love everything. I wish I could eat every day at your place.
Okay, so this is all good information. I'm going to go now. I know that there's a lot of people in the audience that want to know where they can get your creams from. For those that do need the wild yam cream, and I've used it, I've tried it. I am a fan. There's no question about it. Where would you, this is part of one of the questions, if you are getting the wild yam cream, I know your website, if you have also a slide to show how they can order their wild yam cream, that would be great. But where do they, and Sarah, I see your hand, where on the body do you apply the wild yam cream?
Do you want to answer that, Sandra, or shall I?
Yeah, good question. I was just typing in the our website so people can connect to it in the chat. But you would apply it to the creases areas, the thin areas of your body, such as your arm. You can see my arm here. I put it in the thin creases of my arm. So I would start in the morning. I would put it there, and then in the evening I would do the opposite. And then I would again rotate it to down on my thighs, so my inner thighs, right in the morning, and then left in the evening. And then sometimes I would rub it on my tummy as well. So even the back of your legs, the thin parts of your body. And as Grace said, it's like 40 to 400 times better because it's dermal and it goes right through to the skin that quickly.
Okay, wonderful, great. So this is their website. It's selahbotanicals.com. And you can go on there to purchase. They deliver, so it's an online store. So you can go right there to make your purchase. And I'm using it for many of my clients. So one thing that I want us to take away from this is, number one, your body, your liver was designed to deal with a certain level of toxin. So let's not get fanatical and be like, oh, plastic, I can't touch the bag, I can't touch this. We don't need to get fanatical, but as we talked about, and as studies are showing, wherever you have a choice and wherever you can choose glass over plastic, you're just never going to get away from it. It's in everything, it's on everything. We use it everywhere. But the more you can minimize that, the better. That's number one. Number two, know that your body was designed to deal with intruders, to deal with carcinogens in small amounts. The problem is toxic overload. That's what creates trouble. And number two, as Sandra said, even herself as the founder of this company, nobody should have to live off of this cream. The reality is if we get rid of our caffeine, we get rid of any alcohol, we sleep better, we also eat foods that aren't hormone disruptors, like, animal products. You're an animal, I'm an animal, we all produce our own hormones. So if I take in the hormones of an animal, I am disrupting my human hormones. So eating closer to a plant-based diet is definitely a much better option, but stay away from the high hormone ones like dairy products. I'm always give a little smirk to someone who says they're a vegetarian. Well, that means you're not going to eat chicken, fish, or beef or pork, but you're going to have dairy. Dairy is worse for you than all the meats that you can have. I've been doing this for more than a decade, and dairy creates more issues than actually chicken or fish does. And know too that many of your animal products, your eggs, all of these things are pumped with extra hormones for freshness, for longevity, so that it looks better in the grocery store. So the closest you can get to plant foods is better. And if you do have some major hormone imbalances and need to know what a meal plan looks like, I'm just, if you don't mind, Sandra, I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. And then just let you know that you can get a $49 consultation instead of $110 today, but you do need to reach out to me within the next 48 hours. So that's the email address, that's the phone number. You can go on Instagram, The Energy Shack Juice Bar. Make sure there's a the in front of Energy Shack. We do retreats. We've got a cooking class this Sunday to show you how to make better plant-based foods. So whatever you need, if it's just a 5-minute conversation, you have a question, just email me or call us at no charge. But we'd really like to help you clean up your system, get you on a juice detox where juices come in glass bottles, and really help you heal. Sarah, you raised your hand. You had a question?
Yes, it's on the chat.
Okay, so what else can you do? What can men do to improve their hormone balance? And Grace, Sandra, if I'm not mistaken, these creams are also very good for prostate and for men's hormones as well. Do you want to speak to that a bit?
Yeah. Yes, we do make the cream for men as well. The chasteberry is used to help men as well, right? Right, Grace, we have these products that also focus on the issues for men as well.
Yes. So men suffer, especially as they get older, they suffer from too much DHT or a sensitivity to DHT, which is the testosterone is shifting into DHT. That is a male pattern baldness is from that. And also you have issues with their prostate. So our wild yam cream includes saw palmetto, which there are so many published medical studies in reputable reviews that say saw palmetto reduces issues with respect to the prostate, and it helps with the prostate health, so you're not so worried about that prostate cancer coming. So we use saw palmetto in our wild yam because it's for women and men. We also have comfrey is one of the ingredients in our wild yam, and it is very good for what ails you. Like it's just an amazing botanical. And wild yam is for men and women as well. As Sandra pointed out, the chasteberry is for men and women, and it supports their health, their overall reproductive and especially prostate health.
Yes.
No, you don't have to, oh, sorry, pardon.
No, go ahead, Sarah.
Just that question, do you have to use the cream for life? So I've been on the cream for about 8 months. I'm still not completely making my progesterone on my own, but I just had my blood work done and all my hormones were in normal ranges. And I spent 10 years not being able to sleep. I had all kinds of issues from hormone imbalance. I didn't realize that's what it was. So you should be able to get off the wild yam between 6 and 12 months. Your body should take over. For me, I'll probably always use a little bit as a maintenance dose.
Yes, same here.
Very, very good. And Sarah, on top of that, of course, making sure that the man is not consuming alcohol, caffeine, dairy products, and getting into bed. I know it sounds like you're 5 years old or 8, but we really need to get to bed before 10 o'clock. So that's very important. So I want everyone to mark this date in their calendar because I know this was a lot of information, but there's more. So on August 22nd at the same time, 7:30, we are going to have part 2 of hormone disruptors, and my 2 wonderful ladies will be back. And I will stop the share here. Please make sure you take down the email address, the website, check out our retreats, check out also our cooking class that we have this Sunday. It's online. Amazing charcuterie board of vegan cheeses and spreads. And it's only $10. Follow us on Instagram, but just take that information down in case you do want to also join in and be able to grab that $49 consultation. So before we go, Sandra, if you can just put your screen back up just to show them where they can go to get the wild yam cream if they do need it, that would be great. And evening primrose can definitely help with alleviating hot flashes, but Ali, just email me. I have a couple other things that can help you with hot flashes, but honestly, the wild yam cream is excellent. So with that being said, I just want to thank you all for being here. Make sure you come back on August 22nd. We will be having another seminar. And on August 18th, which is a Sunday, Dr. Higgins is going to be joining us to talk about the brain and gut connection. And you can't believe the hormones that are disrupted between the brain and the gut with just simple food choices. So we are going to be talking about that at 7:30 on Sunday. So God bless you all. Thank you, Botanical Ladies. We appreciate you being here. And thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you.